Oh my goodness, you're going to be amazed by the life of Billy the Kid, one of the most famous outlaws of the West. We're going to New York City, where in 1859 our protagonist, Henry McCarty, was born. Soon after, his father died, and his mother decided to move with the children to Indianapolis, then to Kansas, where she remarried, and finally they ended up in Silver City, New Mexico, where his mother would die of tuberculosis. Henry at that time was 14 years old and had nowhere to go, so the owner of the boarding house where they were staying took pity on him and said, "Look kid, if you work for me, I'll give you room and board." He accepts, but a few days later the owner catches him stealing food. That creates such a bad vibe, it's unbelievable, but then the very next week, the kid directly robs a laundromat where he gets 2 guns. So, for being a clown, he's accused of theft and arrested. But it was too soon for his story to end, so he escapes and becomes a fugitive. Then he finds his stepfather and goes to live with him, until he's completely fed up and also steals his clothes, weapons, and takes off. He heads to Arizona, working as a ranch hand, gambling any money he made. Come on, all on red, damn it. There he makes a new friend, a former US cavalry soldier, and together they start stealing horses from local soldiers. It is precisely at this moment in history when our protagonist changes his nickname to William H. Bonney or Boney, I don't care, but I'm going to call him by his most famous nickname, which is easier. So I baptize you as Billy the Kid. One day, already 18 years old in the saloon, he confronts the town blacksmith, who had always been pimping him out. And of course, he finally gets completely fed up, and they end up in a brutal fight. In the middle of the struggle, just like in a western movie, a revolver falls to the ground, which our protagonist ends up picking up and shoots the blacksmith, killing him right there on the spot. Mamma mia, look at the mess you've caused, little bird, so time to run away once more. But the big chicken doesn't go very far, deciding to return to the town a few days later. And naturally, the local justice of the peace arrests him immediately, locks him in a shed, and waits a bit for the army to arrive and decide what to do with him. Damn, this guy is a total screw-up. But naturally, he manages to escape again, steals a horse, and heads toward New Mexico. On the way, he meets the Apache Indians who tell him, "Hey you Billy, stop. Hey, you wouldn't happen to have a smoke, would you?" And bam, they steal his horse. So he has to walk for miles and miles, a long trek on foot, until he reaches the next settlement, where he arrives half dead and completely thirsty. But he is lucky enough that a friend takes him in, giving him mana and health potions. And once his character is fully recovered, he decides to join a band of raiders where they will be causing trouble for several months. After this, because this fellow simply never stops, he becomes a cowboy and starts working for an English businessman who is currently engaged in a serious conflict with several Irish businessmen. In fact, these Irish rivals manage to obtain a legal order to seize the livestock belonging to the boss of our protagonist, who, of course, was the Englishman. And of course, one day, what with one thing and another, boom, they take out Billy the Kid's boss. So, that's when a war breaks out between the two factions, where Billy the Kid's gang eventually ends up killing the sheriff, his deputy, and the marshal. Triple kill. Things are going from bad to worse, man. And of course this led to a search and capture alert being issued for the team where Billy the Kid was, a team that included other dangerous characters, such as the outlaws Tomo Folliard, who was his best friend, and Higinio Salazar, who was also a colleague of his. Their leader was the lawyer of his former English boss, whose name was Alexander McSween. The clan that they had formed, they decided to call the Regulators, and knowing that they were being pursued constantly by their enemies, they fled all the way to the small town of Lincoln, in New Mexico. And once they arrived, the 50 members rented several rooms in different inns, and they positioned themselves high up on the rooftops, waiting to see who was brave enough to come for them. Alright, come! Fighting hard! 2 days later, the new sheriff sent several of his deputies there to kill those bandits, but when they arrived, they were met with gunfire and one of them died. So the sheriff, seeing this would be more complicated, began recruiting other outlaws, among them the famous Jesse Evans. And after forming a considerable group, they went to Lincoln to get the Regulators and to wipe them all out. Here, free for all! Right, just imagine. The battle was insane, and in the end, the sheriff and his team managed to corner 14 of the Regulators in a house, which they ended up setting on fire. You'll see how you're going to get out of there. You'll see. Alright then. Billy and his company tried during the night to escape through the back door, and then another huge shootout happened. Holy hell. And his boss, who was his old boss's lawyer, remember? Well, he was wearing a white shirt, and you could see more, well, pow. He is murdered. And the very next second, Billy goes, BAM! And he kills the assassin. But it was already far too late, kid. And now, without their leader, the small group of Regulators that remained completely dissolved, and it became every man for himself. You should know that Higinio Salazar, one of Billy's very best friends, was also shot right there in the back. He immediately played dead, and when no one was looking, he slowly dragged himself away until he finally reached his sister-in-law's house, where he recovered completely and became an honest rancher. He stopped the nonsense, and he said, I'll stay here and butch my ass. Well, what matters to us is that Billy and some of his friends managed to escape from there. And months later, seeing that the region was becoming filled with violence and there were many outlaws, the local governor decided to grant an amnesty for all who had been in that battle, the one at Lincoln, where the fighting had been very tough, to see if in this way people would calm down a little. Alright, let's start from scratch, guys. Will this clean slate work, or is Billy just too Billy and mess things up like crazy? Just 3 months after the amnesty, here's what happens. Billy the Kid and one of his pals are walking calmly through the town. Hey, how's it going? This looks like Red Dead Redemption 2. Yes, it's the same. And suddenly Jesse Evans shows up, hired by the sheriff to rough them up in the Battle of Lincoln, as I mentioned before. So, Jesse walks into a typical Old West saloon, goes straight to the lawyer for Billy's last boss's widow, and shoots him in the back with his revolver. Bang. Screw that. The dying lawyer crawls out of the place, begging for help. Help, damn it, for fuck's sake. And when he's in the middle of the street, Evans, that is, the one who had just shot him, sprays him with a bottle of alcohol. And boom, he sets him on fire, burning him alive. But that's not all. Immediately after, he points the pistol right at Billy and forces him to watch the Burning Man inauguration he's about to perform. It's like he's telling him, "You kid, I'm the one in charge here, huh? Is that perfectly clear? I just killed your former boss's lawyer. I'm leaving. I have plans." Of course, this greatly affected Billy, who wanted revenge, so he wrote an email to the governor to say he was willing to testify before a jury to blame Evans, in return, of course, for a total amnesty for his previous actions, not just for that battle. "Delete that too, damn it, just get rid of it, fuck!" The governor replied okay, but he told him that to guarantee his safety and that Evans and his gang wouldn't kill him, the best thing was to put him in jail until he testified. Billy, being a bit foolish, accepted, but after speaking in court, the prosecutor refused to free him and the governor wouldn't pardon him. Like, "Oh, what did I promise? I don't remember what you said. Who are you?" So our protagonist got completely fed up. One day, one of the town's Hispanics, who were his allies, slipped him a revolver through the window. Afterwards, Billy subdued the jailer, took his keys, opened the cell, and escaped the building without firing a single shot. Meanwhile, the townspeople, who were watching everything, didn't say a word, because they sympathized with him due to the dirty trick and betrayal the governor had pulled. That dog! Guys and gals, listen up. We are in the year 1879, and Billy the Kid, now absolutely without a shadow of a doubt, has just officially been declared an outlaw. Now pay close attention to this part, because just 6 months later, while he was sitting in a saloon in a different town, Billy notices a stranger walking through the door, a man he knew was actively searching for him, to take him out and claim the bounty, you understand? Because Billy was certainly no fool. So Billy takes the initiative, he calmly approaches him, and with a smile he says, "Hey man, that's a really cool revolver you've got there. Can I take a look at it?" The bounty hunter agrees and hands it over. "And I'm telling you here, why do you give it to him? You're an idiot. Just shoot him and then you get paid. You're in the West, haven't you seen any movies, or what?" Well, at that moment, Billy observes the revolver cylinder, which has 3 bullets in the 6 chambers, right? He only has 3 bullets, the other guy's a cheapskate, damn it. Buy some bullets, you jerk. So he spins the cylinder so the next shot would land on an empty chamber, meaning no bullet, okay? And then he says, "Yes, the revolver is very handsome, gorgeous, Checho," and he gives it. At that moment, the stranger says, "Damn, I have Billy the Kid right here, the one I want to kill. You just gave me the revolver. Look, I'm gonna kill you." So he aims at our protagonist's face without hesitation and goes, click. Holy hell, but it's okay, there's no bullet. He won't have time for a second attempt because Billy almost instantly draws his revolver. Pam, headshot. Go straight to hell, you bounty hunter. Oh my goodness. Billy's legend kept growing with every event, and soon another upgrade occurred. Look, he and his band of companions were staying at a ranch when the deputy sheriff and his men surrounded the entire place. But right at that moment, the owner of the ranch shouts, "Hey, all of you outside, sheriff's people, please, they are holding me as a hostage, and if you try to enter, they will kill me." "Alright, that's fine, no worries, I will offer myself up for an exchange." "You for me," says the sheriff's deputy. Billy doesn't hesitate at that moment. He says, damn, the sheriff's deputy is worth much more than the henchman, so he accepts the swap. And when the agent arrived, he released the rancher. The situation there was getting quite complicated with the negotiations, so the sheriff's deputy, seeing that they might just kill him in a moment of distraction, made a quick sprint and jumped out the window. The deputies who were waiting outside upon seeing that believed it was one of the outlaws escaping and immediately started firing. Bang, bang, bang. The dude's at the window, what a show-off, thinking this is some kind of adventure. Well, and in this way they gave him 3 shots and killed him with friendly fire. Right, just imagine. Oh, should have said it was you. Oh my god, let's go. Feeling completely deflated, they retreat from the scene, so Billy and Co. can also escape from there. Later, they'll find out he was blamed for the murder of the sheriff's deputy, so his GTA wanted stars just went up for free. he won't have much time to regret it, because a few weeks later, something even heavier would arrive. Our protagonist's group was being hunted, almost by Boba Fett himself, so they were hiding as best they could. Well, one winter's day, they went to seek refuge in one of their cabins, the one they visited every year, but this time things were going to be different, because inside, waiting for them, was Sheriff Pat Garrett with his volunteer posse, who had set out to kill that band of outlaws. So, as Billy and his companions are riding up there on horseback, the sheriff steps out of the cabin and shouts, "Halt!" Tom O'Folliard, Billy's closest friend, who is leading the way, tries to spin his horse around to make a getaway, but at that very instant, bang! He takes a shot to the chest and collapses to the ground. The rest of the gang, seeing that, run like hell, leaving Tom there completely messed up on the floor, because you want him to do what now? But a few hours later, by nightfall, they actually came back to pick him up. And here I wonder, damn, the sheriff didn't even pick him up, nor finished him off, or anything. He just left him there. What a pathetic guy. Well, Billy and his men took their comrade, they carried him into a room, and there he ended up dying right in Billy's arms. And Billy was left completely devastated by the loss of the man he considered almost like his own brother. Oh my goodness. Seeing that pesky Billy always managed to slip away, the governor offered a reward of $500 for his capture. And what do you think? Will they manage to catch him, or will he walk away scot-free? How will he die, huh? Boom! Billy and the kid will be hot on his heels. It's cool like the horse scenes, huh? And just 1 month after his best friend died, this is what happens. It's freezing cold, and the gang, only 5 left, is sheltered in an isolated shack in the middle of nowhere. The sheriff, a sharp one, found them in the night, and with his men, they've surrounded the cabin. Then, early in the morning, one of the gang, named Charlie, goes out to check on the horses. The thing is, we'd barely taken 2 steps from the cabin when bang, 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 the sheriff's deputies gun him down and kill him. Obviously, those inside, seeing their colleague die, arm themselves and, entrenched, start shooting like crazy. But that dude is the end. They're outnumbered, only 4 remain. They have no food, they're cold, and they know this video is getting too long. So Billy gathers his clanmates and convinces them that the best thing to do right now is surrender, and to hell with it. Hey, outside, can you hear me? Turf, yes, but who are you? Well, if we surrender, will you promise us that you won't kill us? Sure, just relax. We're not going to do anything to you. Cross my heart. There weren't really many other options, so, resigned, Billy and company toss their weapons out of the shack and step out with their arms raised. And just like that, arrested for being pretty boys. The 4 of them are locked up in jail, and there a journalist approaches Billy and asks him, "Hey, why are you so relaxed?" And he replies, "Puff, what good does it do me to look at the bad side of everything? This time I'm the one laughing." You can go ahead and laugh, sure. Shortly thereafter, they held his trial and found him guilty of murdering a sheriff. And just like that, he was sentenced to death by hanging. Consequently, he was transferred to Lincoln, where he was scheduled to be hanged on May 13th, 1881. And that was the absolute end of the story. That's unbelievable, isn't it? So, did you like the tale of Billy the Kid? Well, shut up, it's not over, because I tricked you. A few weeks before his hanging, this is what happened. Billy the Kid was placed on the 2nd floor of the Justice Building. Okay, so one night, the sheriff was away collecting taxes in another town, and one of the 2 deputies, who always watched Billy, had gone out for dinner. Our protagonist says to the other guard, "I really need to take a dump. Can I use the outhouse?" The other one says, "Sure, go ahead." Billy was handcuffed and shackled at the feet anyway, so he couldn't escape again. But anyway, as they're going down the stairs, Billy, like a magician, manages to free his hands, pushes the guard down, and while he's rolling, Billy takes the chance to go back up to the room, grab a revolver from the table, comes back out, and kills the deputy who was at the bottom of the stairs. Bang, bang, that's it, screw it. With all that noise, the other agent, who was in a restaurant across the street, comes running over. So Billy takes the rifle that the sheriff had left behind, the one who was coming, he props it on the window, and when the man is close enough, he shouts, "Look up, my friend, and you will see what awaits you." Right then, indeed, he lifts his gaze and, pow! Heads up! Billy had just messed things up. Okay, now with no security guards or watchmen around, he grabbed an axe, and after a whole hour of relentlessly hacking away at the shackles, he finally broke them open and was free. So he stole a horse and rode right out of town. Billy the Kid once again became New Mexico's #1 fugitive, so he went to his old colleague Higinio Salazar's house to hide it, because Salazar was already living well. Nobody will look for me here. Obviously, the sheriff, when he found out that after all the trouble, the damn Billy had killed his 2 deputies and escaped, he flew into a rage and went back to follow the trail to the fullest. Come on, and we're off to the 14th of July, 1881. Sheriff Garrett suspects that an old colleague of Billy's might be hiding him in his own home. So, in the dead of night, he approaches the house, sneaks into the main bedroom where that old friend is sound asleep, and wakes him up. "Hey, you! I'm the sheriff. Have you happened to see Billy the Kid around here? I'm looking for him." I need to have a word with him. Damn it, man. What the hell are you doing here? Alexa, what time is it? Oh, right. That doesn't exist yet. No, I haven't seen him. What is going on? The thing is, these two remained talking for quite a while inside the room, which is completely dark, when suddenly approaching the building was none other than Billy the Kid himself, who was coming back after stealing some food for dinner. So, with the sound of the house door opening, the sheriff goes quiet and points his revolver at the guy in the bed to say, "Shh, don't say anything, you son of a bitch, or I'll blow your brains out right here." Billy, who suspected nothing, arrives at his friend's room to open the door. In one hand, he had the revolver, and in the other a knife, and in that total darkness, he feels another presence in the room, so he shouts in Spanish, "Who is it? Who is that?" The sheriff, in that very moment, immediately recognizes Billy's voice and the distinct accent he uses when speaking Spanish, and bang, bang, he fires 2 shots directly at the shadow standing in the doorway, and that figure instantly collapses onto the ground. The very first bullet had struck him precisely above his heart, and in a matter of mere seconds, Billy the Kid bleeds profusely and expires. The sheriff then lights a small lamp and slowly brings the light closer to Billy's lifeless face. Oh, and he breathed a sigh of relief, seeing he'd killed the one he had to. Because, given how the story had unfolded, he was expecting anything. Billy the Kid, who was 21 years old, would be buried the next day right there beside him, and the sheriff went to the capital to collect the $500 reward, but the governor refused to give him that money. So businessmen from various cities who'd suffered from Billy's gang crowdfunded and raised over $7,000 to thank the sheriff. To end this saga, I must tell you there's a legend that says Billy the Kid didn't truly die at the sheriff's hands, and that he made it up to show off, placing the corpse of someone who looked quite similar. And over the following years, several people claimed to be Billy, but who knows, and frankly, I don't care. Also, you'll be amazed by this, because this is the only photo thought to exist of Billy the Kid, and although it looks like he took it at Portaventura, it's from 1880 and was auctioned in 2007 for $2.3 million. But back in 2015, some guy bought a second-hand photo for $1, and after investigating it blah blah blah, he discovered that the fellow on the left, who's playing croquet, is Billy, and now this image is valued at $5 million. And in case you're wondering, the one who lasted longest from the band was Higinio Salazar, who became a rancher, far from trouble, and ended up dying in 1936 at 72 years old. So the moral of the story is, buy old photos in case I'm in them. See you later, look at this.